gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Pirate Radio. I am your host who needs no introduction whatsoever. Why would I? On this episode, it's gonna be a little different than normal. I was reminiscing in my head about my childhood and the neighborhood, or at least the block that I grew up on, at least for a little while. Should probably stop that banner since it's already started. There we go. Let's see here. Basically, I can't remember the exact dates and years and all that because I've gotten older, but basically, being born in 1983, I grew up on a block in what is called North Tulsa, which is not the nice area of Tulsa, although it was all right at the time. Adjust the levels here. Producing. Anyway, it was an average neighborhood. It was an integrated neighborhood, if you will. Mainly it was black and white. There was the road in which I grew up on was a dead end road. My grandparents lived at the dead end part of it. We were about halfway down. Across the street from me was a black family, husband, wife, child. I remember Ken. I believe Ken was a junior, Ken Jr. And next door was another black family, husband, wife, 3 daughters, and a son named Artie. Artie and I, we used to call him Man because he used to always say man. My grandmother said, "Hey, man, what's going on, man?" But Artie and I were very, very good friends. He was like my best friend there on the block. And then across next to Ken was may have been a rental. I don't know. It was more of a kind of white trash family. Had like a son who was older than all of us. At this time, I'm approximately, 5 to 8 years old. I think we left when I was 8. Yeah, because I remember Ken being at my 8th birthday. We left and moved to the suburbs. But I remember that neighborhood, and I remember going to elementary school at McKinley Elementary, where I guess predominantly it was white, but there was a very large population of black kids. There were no Hispanic kids. Like, I don't remember one single Hispanic kid. And we're talking late 1980s into 1990, maybe even 91, because I remember Desert Shield, or I remember Desert Storm, and learning where Kuwait was, Iraq was, and I remember making all the pro soldier stuff and what have you. But anyway, I don't remember any sort of racial animosity between us kids. We knew that like I was white and Ken and Artie were black because we had eyes and they fucking worked. We didn't really care. It didn't really matter. It never came up. My parents, Ken's parents, Artie's parents all got along as neighbors. I remember one time both of Artie's parents worked. At least I know his dad definitely worked. I assume his mom worked. I can't really remember. But I remember one time coming home from school and they had trying to remember how this went down exactly, but they would come home. They were latchkey kids, what's known as latchkey kids back in the day, which apparently has gone the way of the dodo, just like gone the way of the dodo is gone the way of the dodo. The saying, that is. I forget exactly how it went down, but basically it was icy and cold outside and a lock was frozen and they couldn't get either in the gate or in the house. I can't remember. And my dad ran a milk route, so he was always home by like 2 or 3 o'clock. And this is after school. So, of course, my dad said, "Come on over. It's cold outside." And so all 4 of the kids, the 3 girls and Artie, the lone male son, were there in the house. And I remember giving Artie a pair of my winter gloves because his hands were really, really cold. And my dad went over there, tried to get the lock like I remember him mixing up some sort of spray or something and trying to unfreeze the lock. I don't know. It's been a long time ago. My point is Artie was my best friend at the time, and I had lots of friends at school. Well, lots for me. Not exactly the social butterfly if you guys have met me. But anyway, I remember both of them having intact families. And the rest of the block that I lived on was basically like older folks, retired, close to retirement age. I remember there was Burdine and Ernie, there was Mr. and Mrs. Marshall. I mean, these are older folks. Homes paid for, retired. I remember Ernie had the thing like Ned on South Park to talk, the meow, meow, talk, and all of that. It was kind of weird as a kid. Anyway, I remember I remember distinctly Ken's parents seemed to really like without sounding too like weird, they seemed to really enjoy each other. I always remember them smiling. I don't know what Ken's dad did for a living, but he worked, had a really nice like Ford truck with a regular cab Ford truck with a one of the nicest like bed campers I've ever seen on it, and a colored match, and it had this like glass door in the back, and it kind of had it all done up. Beautiful truck. I think his mother was a school teacher, but I'm not sure. I might just be thinking that because in the way she dressed, kind of reserved, and seemed to always have like long skirts on and whatnot. But they were very good people. Ken was a very good kid. Artie, his parents were the same way, very good people, worked hard. Again, intact families. As we move away, we leave, we move out to a suburb. Stop me if you've heard this one before. So we become kind of distant. We're separated by distance. I would go back, visit my grandparents a lot. They would babysit me a lot, or watch. During the summer when I didn't have anything to do. Both my parents worked, so it would go hang out at grandma and grandpa's or whatever. Dad would drop me off in the morning, pick me up in the afternoon. Sometimes my mom would pick me up, but I was able to hang out with Ken and Artie and still hang out with them. I'm not sure which one happened first, but I remember being in high school. I don't know, 15, 16, 17 years old, somewhere in there. And I remember when I learned that Artie was killed. Um, he was shot to death over some dispute over a car that I believe I found a news article that Artie had bought this car from a friend of his. There was some issue with the car. They got into an argument, and Artie was shot to death in the apartment his family had moved to. Mind you, when I left the neighborhood in subsequent years, Artie's family, they had a home, detached garage, very nice home, well kept. Nothing huge, of course. We were living in a trailer next to their home. My parents had bought this bottom oval home. I assume it was there. As far as I know, it had always been there. But we were the trailer trash, in essence. Ken's parents had a home as well, an actual house. Something had occurred. I don't remember. For some reason, I want to say that Artie's dad was a mechanic, but I don't really remember. I just remember at some point they had fallen on hard times, and he had to, at one point, Artie's dad, Artie the third, Artie was the fourth, so Artie the third, his father, had to borrow money from my grandfather just to buy dog food for their dogs. And my grandfather just gave him the money. He didn't care if he ever got paid back. He just wanted the dogs to be fed and wanted to help out any way he could. But yeah, he was shot to death at the age of, I think, 18 or 19 by a former classmate of his, from what I understand, who was raised by a single mother, who was a product of what I guess most of us now understand to be a horrific plan set in motion by Lyndon B. Johnson, one of the worst presidents we've ever had, one of the most evil presidents we've ever had, in a series of acts called the Great Society, the War on Poverty, which created more poverty and did not create a great society, all in the name of civil rights. It created Medicaid for impoverished people, whatever that means. It created an incentive structure over subsequent legislation for mothers to be single mothers because the government would pay them more money. And we got products like the piece of shit that killed my friend. It gets worse. And again, I don't remember which horrific event came first. Or maybe I remember them happening fairly closely. But Ken was shot to death as well. Ken apparently, as the story goes, and I can't find anything on this. It's been so long ago, 20 plus years ago, 26, 27 years ago. Ken was shot to death after he got into a physical altercation, a fist fight, with another kid. And mind you, Ken, when we were 8, had muscles. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, Ken was a little bit older than me, maybe 9. But we're basically the same age. But when we were 8 years old, Ken had muscles. Like he later years when I saw him, he was just, I guess he was always going to be muscular. I know I talked to him once or twice after I left and got into like middle school or whatever. He looked like a fucking bodybuilder. So Ken could handle himself. So I guess he gets the better of this other kid in this fist fight, which I believe happened at school or outside of school or after school, somewhere in there. But it's knuckles. It's one-on-one. He roughs this kid up. Well, this kid's brother is in the gang, is how the story goes. And they find Ken, and they roll up on him on the street. And I believe Ken was with another kid whom I didn't know. And they just shot him to death on the street. I don't know if they shot the other guy, if he ran off, but they shot Ken to death on the street. More products of the Great Society from Lyndon Baines Johnson. And Congress, for that matter, for passing all of this shit. It increased the Hispanic population. If you go back to the neighborhood now, it's nothing but a bunch of Mexicans. Let's be honest. There's no Costa Ricans. It's a bunch of Hispanics who are not doing well either, and older black families who have clung on, and deep, dark, white fucking trash. But it completely destroyed that neighborhood. Most of the black families are gone. They've been run out, replaced. I'm not sure how that exactly worked, but a once, 70-30 white to black neighborhood with home ownership amongst the black population is gone. All the black people now seem to be living in apartments that are Section 8 subsidized apartments, while Hispanics are in the homes somehow. Not really sure how that works. But this is all the product of social engineering by your government, our government. This is what happens when governments try to socially engineer things. They create welfare states, and they ruin everything. We can talk about great replacement. We can talk about any number of things. The funny thing is when someone mentions great replacement, they think it's a anti-minority thing talked about by white people, when in essence what it is the undermining of the native population of a country, namely the United States, in which it is a white and black country. No one ever talks about how the black families have been run out of home ownership how they've been run out of cities which were once predominantly black, or areas of cities that were once predominantly black. No one talks about how in California, if you look at movies from the 80s that talked about like urban culture, in, Boys in the Hood is a good example. Those neighborhoods are now full of Hispanics for whatever reason. The black people are gone. The black people have no homes. You will hear these black activists lie to you and say that, well, black people don't have homes because banks won't lend money to them. Well, they used to, back when we were supposedly way more racist, in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. And these were well-to-do people with jobs, usually 2 incomes, that worked hard, took care of their shit, raised families, and now they're all gone from those homes and from those neighborhoods. And no one will talk about it. No one talks about that. I'm going to be fine, as my white privilege will take care of me, allegedly, or something. I guess I'll be fine because of the color of my skin, but I need to like pander to the Hispanic man. I'm not really sure what that is. We need to import all of these third worlders, but black Americans are the ones really being harmed by all of this. Harmed. All in the name of the Great Society. All in the name of helping. All in the name of like some sort of fucking reparations through tax dollars and incentives on taxation. None of them are owning homes. What is the home ownership rate of a black American? It has to be astronomically low, like shockingly low. And I'm not even talking like paid off in full. I mean, just has a mortgage on it. Versus Hispanic. And obviously, it's going to be pale in comparison to white America. But like, what is it compared to Asian American, to Indians that have come here? Native or American Indian and Asian Indian and actual, Asian, Southeast Asian, Japanese, Chinese, what have you. Even like actual African Americans, like Nigerians and things of that nature. I can only imagine how horrific it really is, those statistics. And no one wants to talk about that part. We all have to talk about some sort of equality and equity and your fair share and a fair shake and bring it up and a hand up, not a hand out, and this, that, and the other, while they've all been just relegated to shithole, formerly great cities in America like Detroit, Chicago, any number of them, where they went and they got the black communities moved. The black people moved to get manufacturing jobs and gainful employment, and then got the city completely hollowed out, the families destroyed, and now they're stuck there, all corralled in this area. And we're talking about fucking Israel and Iran and Venezuela and God knows what. When I say America first, and I got into this little debate discussion with a little twink from who's tells me that you have to have Zionism, and if you're an anti-Zionist, then you're anti-Semite, you're an anti-Semitic, which is the most asinine, retarded thing I've ever heard, and he can't defend it. He just insults you, because that's what all of those people do who talk about how I have to be pro-Zionism. I can't be anti-Zionist, even though the reason I'm anti-Zionist is because I think I almost know for a fact that would be better for the Jewish people of the world. They're much safer in the United States than they are in fucking Israel. And then they go, oh, but they had the Holocaust, and so that's nonsensical. Well, last I checked, the fucking Holocaust didn't happen in the United States. And the last time I checked, on October 7th, 2023, you guys tell me that's your 9/11. I don't know. Not here to talk about that. But when I talk about America first, I'm not talking about me and my friends or me and my white culture or white privilege or white race. I'm talking about white and black Americans. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the American Indian. I'm talking about actual fucking Americans. Not somebody who showed up on a boat 3 minutes ago or crossed illegally. And by the way, this whole notion of, oh, Jose and his family have been here for 20 years and they paid taxes. Yeah, they came here illegally, but I mean, they're pretty much Americans because, they've been hanging out, paying taxes, and contributed to the economy. Well, let me give you this little idea, this little example here. Let's go to a micro level and say that Jose decided to live, you've got 5 acres, he's going to live on the back acre. But he's going to pay the property taxes. But you're like, hey, man, you're not supposed to be here. And he's like, no, it's cool. I've been here for 10 years and I've actually paid some of your property taxes so I can stay, right? And it's like, no, you fucking can't. You have no claim here. You're a fool who's trespassed and paid taxes, and now you get to leave. I don't give a fuck about some illegal. I don't care where you came from. It's Mexico, Costa Rica, Chile, China, Japan, Canada. I don't give a fuck where you came from. Get the fuck out. America is for Americans. We have borders for a reason. We are great for a reason because America is for Americans. We become Americans. Black Americans are just as American as white Americans and vice versa. You guys are Americans. We are all American. Be fucking American. Take care of your culture, your American culture, your American identity, whatever that means for the black community or the white community. At the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we should give a shit about how the black people in this country have been treated historically and how their communities have been completely destroyed through social engineering from the United States federal government, and no one talks about it. No one talks about it. Oh, but they keep voting Democrat if they would just vote Republican. Guess what? Guess who passed the Civil Rights Act? It was a Republican Congress, you dumbasses. Do you think that really helped black people? The Civil Rights Act never helped black people. The promises in the Constitution being enforced in the correct way by the federal government, that helped black people. You had integration into the schools under Dwight Eisenhower and the 101st Airborne, or maybe it was 82nd Airborne. When the schools were told to integrate and they didn't do it, the motherfucker sent crack troops and said, you're going to integrate this school because that's the law. We're all equal. Every man is equal. We have public education. Little Ruby is allowed to go to this public school, Mr. White Arkansans, and he enforced the law. You didn't need a Civil Rights Act, another law to supersede the other laws to enforce, to create some sort of equality. It's all you had to do was enforce what you had on the books already under the Constitution. That every man is created equal. Content of character, not color of skin. We all understand this shit. But your government completely fucked it up. In the name of civil rights and equality, they destroyed a once prosperous and growing and wealthy and proud black community. And no one will talk about it. We're too busy talking about this bullshit here, that bullshit there, this, that, or the other, or some foreign fucking country. And no one talks about how it's destroying the black people. You can look to Minnesota. Do you think those Somalis give a shit about a black American? They give zero shits. They only care about Somalis and Somali shit. See, and that's a disconnect there. When you use the term, there's a reason I never use the term African American to refer to black Americans, because those Somalis, by and large, if they become Americans and gain citizenship, they would have been technically African American. They view themselves as African or Somali or whatever, whether they have citizenship or not, which I'm vehemently against. I want them deported too. I don't care if you got your citizenship. If you don't view yourself as American instead of Somalian, out you go. One-way ticket to Somali land or Puntland or wherever the fuck that shithole. You're going to the Horn of Africa. That's where you're going. Because I would rather take those resources and No, I didn't even want to take the resources. That's what caused the problem. I would rather focus on the black communities. Why? Black American communities have just been destroyed, and no one will talk about it. And this, my story about my buddies Artie and Ken, they're just microcosms of what the greater problem was. Those kids never got in any trouble. They never did anything but wrong. I mean, they were kids. They weren't bad kids. They were really good kids. You know, they went to school. They did everything they were asked to do. And both of them got shot to fucking death over nothing. It wasn't like they were breaking into somebody's house or whatever, committing a crime, this, that, or the other, or went to war. They were shot over nothing. Nothing. Shot by products of the Great Society and the war on poverty. Boy, that fucking worked out, didn't it? All right, that's going to end my personal story. There's a story that I wanted to talk about that I haven't seen a whole lot of people talking about. And if some of you might remember that this happened a few years ago. A little over a year ago. So let me share this screen. Share. So the ATF, one of my episodes a few months back. There we go. Let's do this. Or not a few months back. This is an article from Reason Magazine talking about the ATF and its backdoor gun registry. Those of us in the know that the ATF has created a backdoor gun registry via the records keeping of 4473s that gun shops and federal firearms licensees are made to keep onto. They've amended the rules numerous times, but basically it used to be after 20 years they would destroy those records. Now they have to keep the records indefinitely, and what happens when a gun shop or an FFL holder either gives up the FFL or goes out of business is now the ATF takes all of those 4473 forms and records and then puts them on file, creating, in essence, a backdoor gun registry. So this is an article from Reason Magazine in which they're talking about, Representative Michael Cloud, a Republican from Texas, and 26 other members of Congress wrote a letter to the ATF asking about the status of their year-old query. I'm going to call their year-old inquiry to the ATF that the ATF has ignored. The original 2025 letter inquired about the ATF's collection of Form 4473 firearms transaction records, which are filled out in the course of every firearm sale by a licensed dealer from gun vendors that have gone out of business. These records have accumulated and turned into a gun registry in waiting. So what the ATF will claim is that this registry, or this, you can't call it anything but a gun registry. They claim that this whole system exists for something like what happened when Trump was almost assassinated in Butler. They take out the assassin, they pull the gun, they pull the number, and they're able to match that to the person who bought it from the gun shop they bought it from, therefore being able to find the person who fired the gun, presumably, assuming it's not stolen, what have you. So, obviously, this is a problem, but it's a problem not only for the obvious implications that it has, it's a problem because it's illegal. The Firearms Protection Act from 1986 states that no such rule or regulation prescribed after the date of the enactment of the Firearms Owners Protection Act may require that any system of registration of firearms, firearms owners, or firearms transactions or dispositions be established. And they established it. The ATF is not cooperating with Congress in their letter. So as much as I hate the idea of I'm writing a sternly worded letter to so-and-so, I'm not sure how much else they could actually do without passing some sort of law which compels them. Not really sure about all of that stuff. So the ATF has a de facto registry. They're able to, at any time, look up who has it. whatever gun it is. They can find a gun. They could, theoretically, you could do it the opposite way, and you could type in a serial number that comes up to, say, me, and then create a fake gun and make you use it and say that it was mine or this, that, or the other. Any of these things could happen. So, the ATF is in charge of the ATF. This is an interesting or passage in the article. So, Gun Owners of America had a Freedom of Information request that revealed that the ATF stored these records in a searchable PDF and JPEG formats. The agency claims it's in compliance with the law banning gun registries, though, because the resulting database isn't searchable by name, but that's apparently a choice that can be altered at any time. Quoting from the GOA report, it appears the only reason ATF's registry is not searchable by name is because ATF has merely disabled the ability for its software to search that particular record field. Of course, something that is so easily disabled could be easily re-enabled. Fun! So the ATF is tracking our firearms purchases. They have all of our information on file. Just like I mentioned in my podcast a few episodes back, when I talked about ballistics and the lie that ballistics is another backdoor way to get a firearms registry as well. Also, why would ballistics matter if you didn't have on record the firearm in question, what have you? Ballistics is a lie. It's nothing more than a de facto backdoor registry under the illusion of some sort of science. That's all it is. We're being lied to. We're being surveilled. We're being tracked. And our beloved government, our all-knowing overlords are, again, lying to us about it. And guess what? It's a Republican administration in right now, and they're doing nothing about it. It's a Republican who requested this in 2025. We now have a Republican president and administration, whoopity-doo, and he's doing jack and shit about it. Instead, he's talking about how you can't bring a gun to a protest, same as Kash Patel. Both of them wrong. Both of them anti-Second Amendment. Both of them hate our guts. Okay? So you got that going for you. And again, I will link to that. So let's see. Oh, there's one more part in this that I want to read out loud. Let's make it bigger. Let's go full screen. Okay. So the report adds, ATF records reveal its gun registry to be searchable by weapon type, make, model, serial number, and caliber, among other functions. In fact, proponents of a gun registry use the searchability of the out-of-business records imaging system, OBRIS, as a selling point after the attempted assassination of then presidential candidate Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. After the would-be assassin was killed, law enforcement agents seized his rifle with hopes of retrieving details based on the serial number, which they were able to do in about 30 minutes. Fun! There's so many implications here. The obvious is gun confiscation, creating a record of the guns you own, the guns I own, the guns we collectively own, and being able to, an accumulation of firearms as well, like behind me here. This is why it gets so dangerous when people talk about doing things with the administration that currently exists and precedents that get set based on because your guy is in office and you're fine with it because you're wielding power. Well, when the other side gets powered, they can do the same things. This is like when you want to have something like a hate speech law against anti-Semitism. I understand anti-Semitism bad. We'd love for it to go away. The more you fight against anti-Semitism, whatever that means in today's current age, according to that Chad Felix Green douchebag, that just means not being a Zionist. So I don't know what your definition is, but if we take the traditional definition of a anti-Semitic or anti-Semite, I understand where you wouldn't want someone to be able to spout something anti-Semitic. I get it. No one wants to hear how much they hate black people or Jews or Mexicans or whatever. I get it. So if you create this anti-hate speech law, the idea that it won't be used against you is ridiculous. That's just like saying, well, hey, we don't want trans people to own firearms because they're mentally ill, quote unquote, when no one can tell me what mental illness actually means, what the markers are, who gets to decide this. You people can't even tell me what defines an alcoholic or an addict. So then you're going to tell me what defines someone with a bad brain and that they're not allowed to own a firearm. Well, let's say that you got your wish that because someone is struggling with their gender identity, they think they're a man trapped in a woman's body or vice versa. You say, well, that's mental illness, so they can't own a firearm. Okay, fine. But if we take your precedent, when the other side gets in, they're just going to expand on that. And the thing the left definitely will do is wield power because they do it every time. So what's going to happen is they're going to decide that something else is mental illness. Like, why would you own 54 firearms? That seems like you're plotting something. That seems like something's off. That seems like you might be planning a terroristic threat, or you might be a threat to this or yourself or whatever. And there you go. I mean, the leap from mental illness to red flag law nationally is not a leap. It feels like a baby step. And to think that they wouldn't do that, I'm pretty sure if they could, they would. And now you have a database of who owns, let's say President Gavin Newsom is in, and they have a Democrat-controlled Congress, and they say, we're going to do red flag laws. Okay, what's a red flag, do you think? Because we see all of this like reporting when someone gets arrested, and then they say they had an arsenal of 3 firearms and 500 rounds of ammunition, and all of us laugh, and we're like, that's a fun Tuesday. If that's a lot to them, what the fuck is this to them? I'm getting arrested. I can almost guarantee you that. Because they're going to have a database. They already have the database, which is searchable, which my name is attached to pretty much every single one of these. They could go, damn, who needs 5 ARs? He's plotting something. Maybe he's in a militia. Maybe he's got a screw loose. He said crazy things on the internet, and he's filming him as he says them and puts them out to multiple platforms like an idiot. Well, there you go, guys. There you go. Oh, but our guy was in power. We got to get him in power again, and then he'll wield power again for us or something. So that's the ATF story. Yes, I'm going to talk about fucking Jeffrey Epstein, but what I'm really going to talk about is this assault on Thomas Massie. I've had enough of Donald Trump, and he's lost me with his speech on the tarmac talking about Jeffrey Epstein and how it's a nothing and blah, blah, blah. And I can't believe people still care. Yes, we still care about sex trafficking amongst the elite. I'm sorry, Donnie. We care about it. The allegations of pedophilia are just that, or underage, sex that's happened, performed. I guess rapes are being alleged and all of those things. Yes, we want that investigated, Donnie. You actually ran on that. And now you're going after Thomas Massie because he forced your hand to release the documents. And then Bimbo Bondi goes up before Congress 2 days ago, a day ago, whenever it was. That was one of the most pathetic performances I've ever seen by a allegedly educated person. Pam Bondi should never have been in that job. She should resign in disgrace. It is unbelievable when Thomas Massie, it wasn't just Thomas Massie, Jerry Nadler, the guy who shit his pants in Congress. Jerry Nadler got the better of Pam Bondi. And she just results to insults. That's all she did. Because she has no way to back it up. She has no way to argue other than resulting to insults. She did the same thing with Massie. When Massie, as he correctly claimed, I caught you red-handed, and 40 minutes later, you did the thing you were supposed to do from the get-go. She said, this guy has Trump derangement syndrome. I can't believe this. This all ties into the us versus them shit, too. This is your us, I guess. This is your regime. This is your us. This is not my us. If I have an us, it's with Thomas Massie. He's doing the right thing. He's doing the only thing. He's doing it in a bipartisan way with Ro Khanna. Not a huge fan of Ro Khanna's. Disagree with him vehemently in political positions. I've heard the man speak on podcasts. I've heard him speak in other places. He's a very articulate guy, has ideas. I believe he believes what he says he believes. You know, he points out some things that make sense. But, you know, when it comes to the rubber meeting the road and the fine details, he and I are not going to agree. But we agree on this. We agree that these files need to be released. They need to be unredacted, so long as it's something, you know, not mentioning a victim's name who doesn't want to be mentioned. That seems fine with me. But the idea that you're not going to release these because why? Why are you redacting co-conspirators in the case? Are we going to redact Ghislaine Maxwell's name, or what? You know, I'm with Massie on this. I'm with Massie on most things. There's some things we disagree on, as you should. You should never agree with someone 100%. But this idea that now we're going to attack Thomas Massie, we're going to primary Thomas Massie. I understand if you're Donald Trump, Thomas Massie's kind of a thorn in your side. He doesn't want to spend any money. He doesn't want to send money overseas to foreign countries. He doesn't think we should be fighting any of these wars. None of it makes sense. He wants a good fiscal policy. And Donald Trump just wants to spend money into oblivion. I get it. You guys don't agree on it. You could probably find some middle ground instead of primarying the guy. They're throwing something like $20 million at Thomas Massie in his re-election campaign in a nowhere congressional seat in Kentucky. And I don't mean that in a bad way. But it is a nothing. This is not some hotbed district. It's not really even a contested district. So you're going into the midterms, which you're probably it's going to be probably a bloodbath for the right, and you're dedicating millions of dollars of resources and time to unseat Thomas Massie? That's retarded. Anybody still backing Trump at this point, he can pivot, but this is an abject failure. It is a complete and utter failure. The economy sucks. It's not getting better. We talk about jobs reports and GDP. That doesn't pay my fucking bills. We're still sending money to Ukraine. We're still sending money to Israel. We're still sending money to Venezuela. We're still sending money to all over the fucking place. We did none of the Doge cuts. We cut none of that money. All of this is going everywhere. We're getting poorer. Our communities are getting worse. Our families are being destroyed. The nuclear family is being destroyed, hollowed out from the inside out. They're not gainful employment around. We're being flooded by illegals. We're not deporting the illegals we need to be deporting. We're not forcing their hand to self-deport through any number of measures. You could do that. Instead, we have ICE going into Minneapolis and just killing people almost randomly, pushing random people to the ground in some sort of I don't know what. This is not working. This administration has ground to a halt. It's starting to become fucking embarrassing. I've backed Donald Trump since 2015, 2016. I got a fucking hat sitting here. I voted for the man 3 times. I've always found him entertaining and funny when he talks shit to the media, when he says the thing he says, and you know, when he trolls people and he gets people riled up and people lose their mind. That's my guy. He's done a lot of things that I like. He's pardoned Ross Ulbricht. You know, he's has deported a bunch of people. He closed the border. We need to deport more. The border is somewhat closed, at least from what I can tell. He needs to close the Canadian one. But all of these things that are happening, we're still spending money we don't have, and we're spending ourselves into oblivion. A 50-year mortgage, that's retarded. We're not getting richer here. We should be able to buy $8 coffees as we eat rotisserie chickens. Instead, you have people in debt up to their eyeballs, trying to go deeper in debt to buy a home, which they can't afford and they can't get approved on. And this all is going to come to a head at some point, and it's going to be catastrophic. And all of these things are interrelated. All of these things have to be addressed at some point. You have to have guys like Thomas Massie should be in your fucking cabinet. That should be the only reason someone else is running as the Republican in that district, is because Thomas Massie is now in your cabinet or an advisor. He's in the White House. Unbelievable that this is happening. We're just printing money. Bitcoin took a shit. That's kind of funny. Gold's running out of control. Things are going to come to a head. We need to end the war in Ukraine. I don't care what Zelensky wants. We're going to end it. That's the way it should be. We should be trying to be allies with Russia. Imagine what would happen if we were allies with Russia. You could end NATO. That saves us a ton of money. Russia operates on its own. It doesn't need anything from us. We don't need anything from it. It would be nice to have a nice relationship with the other nuclear power, perhaps pull them away from China completely. Maybe Russia can impose its influence on the Chinese since they're in the region and keep them under control. Maybe, just maybe. Relying on Japan is not a good policy, not a good plan. But it's a pretty good rant there, I thought. America first. Remember that? Remember when he ran on America first and then didn't do anything for America? Closed the border. And then what? Then what? That was it. Our grocery prices down. Our car prices down. Oh, but gas is a little bit cheaper. Okay. Fair enough, I guess. I'm glad they're not $3 and $4 a gallon. I guess I should be happy at $2.50 a gallon. I don't know. Your wages up? I think there's a general feel, even amongst people who aren't really in the know, if you will, or not the most educated. There's just this general feel across America, or at least across the people I come in contact with, of just general economic uneasiness. Just uneasiness there. The automobile market's about to implode. When that happens, I'm not sure which comes first, the housing market or the automobile market imploding, but both are tied together. When one goes, the other goes. We have apparently repossessions are at an all-time high, higher than they were in 2007, 2008. Remember what happened then. Credit card debt is at an all-time high, so that's fun. I mean, these are things that you can't run away from and you can't outgrow. Apparently, the Trump administration just wants to grow the economy so much that you outgrow the inflation and all the problems that are coming down the pike. It's not going to happen. And even if it does happen for, say, 2, 3, 4 years, it won't happen forever. And at some point, the chickens come home to roost and we have a cataclysmic economic event. But at least he's got an R next to his name. You ran Marjorie Taylor Greene out of Congress. You don't have to agree with Marjorie. But the reason she got run out was wanting the Epstein files released. I don't know, man. Then the ATF's going to steal my fucking guns because they know how many I have because they created an illegal backdoor goddamn gun registry. So I got that going for me. I don't know, man. Probably just a little wound up because my damn suppressor form hasn't been approved yet. My SBR form hasn't been approved yet. So and then I came on here to talk shit about the ATF. So that was probably dumb. But here we are. Can't take it back now. Now it's all fucking out on the interwebs. So that's fun. At least I got this cool hoodie. Got it from a fella named Cyware. Check out his wares. It was like $60. Seems pretty damn decent for a good hoodie. It's got a lot of different styles, unique shit. Cool as fuck. Takes a while to get it because they're made to order. Bear with them. It's just a one-man operation. I don't know, man. Seems like we got a lot of problems going. I'm trying to find the light here. I'm trying to find the white pill, if you will. I mean, I guess the white pill is I looked today. I only owe about $43,000 on the land in the house here. That's pretty good. Got equity in it. Don't know what you do with equity unless you sell, but what have you. I guess you can cash it out and get another mortgage, but that seems asinine. I mean, on paper, I'm worth a lot of money, apparently. I don't have a lot of money. You start tallying it up, and you're worth X amount, and then got some dumb bitch like Liz Warren talked about capital gains tax and wealth tax. It's like, well, fuck, you're going to tax me on a $250,000 home? That's fucked up. I ain't got $250,000. I ain't got the percentage you want, Pocahontas, bitch. I don't know where that, whatever. Oh, millionaires and billionaires. Whatever. I was trying to find a white pill. Went black pill on you again. Take that, Mert. Oh, man. I don't know. I guess I would think I will be fine if there's a cataclysmic economic event, but I worry not only about that, but I worry for my friends, family. I don't want to see any of my friends suffer. I don't want to see anyone suffer, honestly. But I especially don't want to see those people that I like suffer. I don't want to see people have to sell guns to pay bills. That's hurtful. I don't want to see any of that happen. I want everyone to be able to afford as many $8 coffees as they want, as many rotisserie chickens as they can stomach. This is America. By the way, the reason I'm talking about rotisserie chicken is apparently someone said something about like you're $200,000 in debt. Oh, some article from some shitty rag. Americans are $200,000 in student debt, this, that, and the other, but they're buying rotisserie chickens. It's like, well, rotisserie chicken is half the price of an uncooked chicken in the frozen aisle. I mean, tell me you're completely disconnected with everyday Americans without telling me you're completely disconnected from everyday Americans. I don't know how they do it, I'm being honest. Like, you can go to Costco. I don't go to Costco, but I've spent a lot of money there. You can get a rotisserie chicken for like $4 or $5. It's good as shit. It's a full bird. Like, that's a value. That's cheaper. That's cheaper than fast food. It's a fucking rotisserie chicken, bro. You can't buy the chicken and cook it for that. So why would I not buy a rotisserie chicken? Not only that, like, you can take the chicken, shred it apart, and make stuff out of it. You can do a pot pie. You could do, I don't know, a chicken Alfredo. You can do any number of things with the shredded chicken that's already cooked. I mean, who doesn't like a rotisserie chicken? What the fuck? Why are we putting down rotisserie chickens? What does this world come to? Where America saw all of a sudden a rotisserie chicken is some like pejorative. Sounds like some New York shit. Probably just jealous you ain't got a rotisserie chicken in your little bodegas. That fucking commie's gonna have it to where you're eating fucking dogs, so don't worry about that. Hope that goes good for you. Be eating fucking sewer rat before the year's up. Dumbasses. Anyway, that was my Red Foreman impersonation. Dumbass. Well, boys and girls, it has been fun. Hopefully you all enjoyed my rants. Hopefully you enjoyed my emotional story at the beginning. I didn't really expect that to happen, but hey, this shit's live. Anyway, this has been another successful episode of the Pirate Radio Podcast, filmed, recorded live on Rumble and on Twitter every day, every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, or as we like to call it, correct standard time. That said, till next time, everybody stay cool, fuck the ATF, shoot guns, and don't do anything I wouldn't do. Peace.